Here is a piece of cloth that's already been prepared. This one has all 4 edges of the cloth cut and stitched. So if you want a fringe around all 4 edges, you'll want to cut off the selvages on the ends and then stitch in however many rows. This is all ready to go for a table runner. The next thing you need are some blunt tipped needles. They're just not as sharp on the ends. That's so when you're doing your weaving, it's not going to catch on all those threads. It will go through there nicely. And they can be called tapestry needles, embroidery needles, or weaving needles. And they go through really nice. So just make sure it's a blunt tip needle. The next thing you'll do is measure your yarn. And some patterns will say to measure 2 widths of the cloth, or it might say measure 2 lengths of the cloth. Well, the length is the long ways and the width is the shorter. So if it's 2 widths, you'll want to, and if it says to measure 2 widths, you'll just, including the fringe, so you always want to have a little extra yarn instead of not enough yarn. So 2 widths would be 1, 2, and then I would cut the yarn. For 2 lengths of yarn, you'll measure from the long end to the other long end. I can't get it all on so you can see it in the video screen, but we'll measure from this end, including the fringe, to the other end, 2 times. Now the pattern may say to measure 3 lengths, so then you would go 3, and then you'd cut the yarn where you had measured the 3 lengths. But it may even say 4, just whatever the pattern says. Then, after you have your yarn cut and thread your needle, you'll want to find the center of the cloth. And again, you'll want to see, is the stitching going to be going lengthwise? Does it say to cut it 2 lengths or 2 widths? So that you know, are you going to find the center of the width or are you going to find the center of the length? For this, we're going to find the center of the length. So I just fold the cloth in half lengthwise. Make sure the fringe edges are even. And then you can mark that with a safety pin, or you can just mark it with a Swedish weave needle, whatever works. And then you'll know where the center of the cloth is, where you begin. Now you may come across a pattern that it might be a smaller project or something where it doesn't say to find the center of the cloth. It just says to count so many rows in from a certain edge. So then that's what you do, is count each set of these 4 threads is a row. And then on a lot of patterns also, it will say to find the center of the cloth, that's where you'll begin, but it will be a certain amount of rows up from the fringed edge. So let's say it was 10 rows up from the fringed edge that I'm going to start, then I'd have to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you can mark that with another safety pin or needle, or if you have your needle threaded and ready to go, then you just go ahead and start. So the very center of the cloth is right here, and that's 10 rows up from the fringed edge. So that's where I'll begin. Okay, with the threaded needle, I'll pick up a couple of stitches here in where I had the marker and pull the yarn through part way. Then you'll not only want to center the cloth like we've done, but you also center the yarn. So I get 2 ends, put the 2 ends together and pull. See, there's lots more on this side, so pull it until it is centered. Now I have half the yarn on the right side, half the yarn on the left side. My left side's already threaded, so I'm going to work to the left. I do that anyway. One of the reasons that you want to center your yarn is because many times you're working with an extremely long piece of yarn, and it's a lot easier to do it in halves, so you're not pulling and pulling this 10-foot piece of yarn through the stitches. So normally you will stitch on the left side of the center to the left edge, then you'll rethread the yarn over on the right side with your needle, and then you'll do the stitching to the right edge. I zoomed in so you could see that we have these two, they're either called floats, two floats that we've gone underneath, or they can be called verticals because the threads are up and down vertically. I call them verticals, or in patterns it's a V. So this would be picking up two V's or two floats. Okay, here's an example of picking up 14 floats or verticals. Pick up 14. I'll do 7 and then pull my yarn through and then pick up 7 more. So here's one. Make sure you get all 4 threads, your needle underneath all 4 of the threads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Pull my yarn through, making sure I don't pull it too hard and start pulling the yarn that's reserved for the right side of the cloth. Now I need to get 7 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is a simple pickup stitch. You're just going across picking up those verticals or floats.